Welcome back to Animal Mysteries, the show where we dive into some of the common myths and misconceptions surrounding animals and ask, just how positive are we really? I'm your host, Zoo Educator Trevor Suich, and today, before we get to our next animal mystery, we're following up on our previous episode to answer all your burning questions about owls, as well as answering if we're ever gonna make another video. In my defense, my team and I spent the past several weeks on a video for the 2021 International Convention of Zookeepers webinar, where we taught zookeepers and zoo educators alike about techniques for teaching conservation in zoos. It doesn't have a lot of relevance to this channel, but you should go watch it anyways, since I'm a massive narcissist who wants the most views of the conference. Now, back to owls. Our first question is, could I have an owl as a, you know what, no. Our first question is, what do you call a group of owls? Now, this is a really interesting question because while there is technically a name for a group of owls, and it's pretty hilarious, you don't often hear this term used by ornithologists. That's because owls are solitary by nature, so outside of making more owls, you don't really find owls living together in large groups. You see, most owls live by an ancient code named Mate, Marry, Murder. Basically, it's the rules of Tinder, but with slightly more bloodshed. While the adorable yet ferocious burrowing owl is a notable exception, even their bonds are kinda loose. Think of them as less loving family and more annoying coworkers. They live alongside each other, try to put up with each other, and occasionally kill and eat each other. So with all that out of the way, what do we call a group of owls? Well, it turns out we call it a parliament of owls. Because what better symbolizes an owl's intelligence than a room full of politicians? But since owls don't really live in groups, where the heck did this name actually come from? Well, it turns out, a lot of the terms for groups of animals originated with the Book of St. Albans, written in the ripe old year of 1486. There's a lot of great names in here, including ones you've probably heard of. Some of my favorites include a sleuth of bears, a murder of crows, a pride of lions, and a business of ferrets. Which, if we're actually being accurate to the source material, is supposed to be a busyness of ferrets, but the English language in general decided that business of ferrets was way more adorable sounding and super fun to draw, so we just kind of sort of stuck with that. Anyways, linguistics aside, a parliament of owls isn't actually in this book. You see, when C.S. Lewis wrote The Chronicles of Narnia, he was a bit of a Chaucer fan. In a classic play on words, he took Chaucer's famous poem A Parliament of Fowls and turned it into The Wise Narnia Council of a Parliament of Owls. The lion, the witch, the audacity of this. Our next question is, if I find a baby owl that needs help, will its mother reject it if I pick it up? Now that is an excellent question because it ties directly into another myth. If you handle a baby bird, its mother will reject it. Now this is a myth that's super helpful, so we don't often correct it as educators. The reality is a mother bird will not reject its baby if it's been handled, but handling a baby bird often does more harm than good. One of the biggest misconceptions about baby birds is that when it's time for them to fly, they do so pretty much effortlessly. Whereas the reality is that when they actually try to fly, they plummet like feather-covered bricks. In fact, quite a few species of birds are even designed to spend several weeks of their youth on the ground and completely unable to fly. It's the ultimate workout motivation, basically. Bulk up those flight muscles or get absolutely shredded by house cats. If you ever find a wildlife that needs a wildlife... Okay, who the f did the edits here? Me? If you ever find wildlife that you think needs help, the best thing that you can do for them is to keep the area safe and pet/child free, and then contact a local wildlife rehabilitator. These are typically volunteers who have special permits from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and are specifically trained in how to rescue, rehabilitate, and release wild animals. You can often find their contact information through your state's Fish and Wildlife Services, either by giving them a call or sometimes even directly through their websites. Next up, we have, could I have an owl as a pet? You know what, could an owl be used to deliver mail? That is another question. You know, I mean, like if you could train an owl to drop mail down a chimney, That could, well, but then you'd have to train the owl to fly to that chimney, and that's a separate behavior. And this is an animal that doesn't do well with more than one behavior. So now you have two behaviors, which is a behavioral chain, and this is getting really complex. And then, like, is the owl going from point A to point B every single time? Because maybe that would help, but like now you're talking like 3 steps to this if it has to differentiate chimneys. And like, you know what? Okay, look, stop. If you had an owl that could be smart enough to do 2 behaviors in a row, fly to chimney, drop mail, it could work as long as you don't care about accuracy. So like mass mailing campaigns, go nuts. Oh goody, my letter from Bogwarts has arrived. Thanks, owl. Dear sir, my name is Prince Nibimbe Mabike from Nigeria. I require your aid. I want to transfer all of my fortune outside if Nigeria— Wait a minute. What are owl pellets? I've been curious ever since I dissected one in 5th grade and didn't listen to the teacher explain what it was. Well, my inattentive former 5th grade friend, you got to dissect something pretty awesome. You got to dissect owl barf. Okay, so maybe it would be better to call this an owl hairball instead of owl barf, but they still spit these up after a big meal. In a way, they're kind of like cats, but with wings, but also dumb. Anyways, owl pellets are the compacted remains of an owl's meal that they couldn't digest. Since owls don't have teeth, thank God, they can't actually chew their food and instead either tear off large chunks or just swallow their food whole. Science teachers love having kids disassemble these things as they help us to understand what owls eat and thus how owls shape our local ecosystems. And it's not just kids studying owl pellets. Ornithologists love studying them too and have learned quite a lot about them. For instance, years of studying the pellets of the great horned owl have helped us to learn that their species will consume rabbits, hares, mice, American coots, voles, moles, shrews, rats, gophers, chipmunks, squirrels, woodchucks, marmots, prairie dogs, bats, skunks, house cats, porcupines, ducks, loons, mergansers, grebes, rails, other owls, hawks, crows, ravens, doves, and starlings. They'll also supplement their diet with reptiles, insects, fish, invertebrates, and basically just anything else that moves. They'll even sometimes eat things that don't move, like carrion, aka roadkill. Great horned owls have been found to dine on over 500 species and have the most varied diets of any American raptor. Their prey species can range from as small as 0.4 grams to as much as 15 pounds, which is absolutely insane when you ask, how much do owls weigh? That's called a transition. Shut up, Maddie. Owl weights can vary dramatically between species, but they tend to be a lot lighter than people would think. The smallest owl, aptly named the elf owl, weighs as little as 40 grams, while our North American great horned owl can grow to a whopping 3.5 pounds. That might not sound like a lot until you remember they've been recorded taking down prey as large as 15 pounds. That's the mathematical equivalent of a 180-pound human taking down an animal weighing over 770 pounds, the rough weight class of a grizzly bear, with no other tools aside from their bare hands. The crazy part here is that the great horned owl is actually super tiny when compared to the largest owl on the planet and source of my constant nightmares, the Eurasian eagle owl. This absolute unit of an owl has a wingspan of up to 6 feet 7 inches and can weigh over 10 pounds. While their average prey tends to only weigh about 3/4 of a pound, they've been recorded taking down roe deer, with the heaviest kill on record weighing in at 37 pounds. While it is true that owls can often hunt species way outside their weight class, they often can't carry that massive prey back to the nest with them. So they get creative. The great horned owl and Eurasian eagle owl in particular are often tracked via their rather unique hunting strategy, wherein after catching their prey, they rip its head off and leave the lifeless corpse to bleed out in the middle of the woods. I bet your crazy great aunt who loves owls doesn't know that tasty little tidbit. It might sound horrifying, and to be honest, it kind of is, but the brain actually holds a lot of nutrition. Between protein and fat content, this makes an excellent meal for nesting birds. The one thing that doesn't make sense, though, is that given that owls are powerful, deadly, dumb, and eat brains, I don't understand how the entertainment industry hasn't put 2 and 2 together. The fact that we have movies about zombie dogs, zombie beavers, zombie sharks, and zombie sheep, but not zombie owls hurts my heart. Like seriously, what the f, Hollywood? How are you not seeing this opportunity? You could have flying zombies. Like where the heck is George Romero when you need him most? I don't care. He's the godfather of zombie films. Why can't he come back from the dead, write a script about zombie owls taking over the world, and then we can all go about our days? I don't. Next up, no, Maddie, no, all right? I will do any question, but this one, please don't make you son of a wonderful person, you. How many licks would it take an owl to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop? Oh man, oh gosh, yeah, I can honestly say that in my entire career of working with owls, I have never been asked this question and been able to contain my sheer and utter disappointment in the people asking it. But you know what? Since you asked, we're gonna learn about bird tongues now. Time to learn! There's actually a pretty insane amount of variety in bird tongues, and we find some impressive features in quite a few. For instance, flamingos are filter feeders who use their tongues as a piston to flush water across a filter built into their beak. Penguins have tiny spines coating their tongues called papillae to help manipulate and swallow fish. Woodpeckers have a tongue tip with rear-facing spines to stab and extract larvae, and owls, well, owls don't really have much that's cool about their tongues. They're coated in keratin, they have few taste buds, and to quote a review of the study of bird tongues, there doesn't seem to be any diet tongue specific modifications, which is basically science speak for an owl's tongue is kind of boring. But it looks cool and can make a threatening clicking sound though. Do baby owls really sleep on their bellies? Okay, we need to take a moment to address this, all right? Not the question. The question's great. It's actually a really good question, but the meme, all right? There's so many animal memes where people learn something for the very first time and it blows their minds and it drives folks like me bananas because it's almost always wrong, all right? So get off TikTok, do some Googling, people, because if you did, you'd find that this claim, this claim is actually technically accurate, but most of them are wrong. Except for this one. Shit. God, I hate when TikTok is right, but in this case it is. To understand why baby owls sometimes will sleep on their bellies though, it's important that we first understand growth rates in owls. They're kind of insane. The great horned owl, for instance, will grow to its full-grown size in only 8 to 9 weeks. Imagine if we had a similar growth rate. That would mean a baby would grow into their adult body in under 3 months. So the growth rates are crazy, but what's also of note is that underneath that poof ball of floof, an owl's skull is almost comically large compared to the rest of its skeleton. That massive skull needs a lot of neck muscles for support, which, in a baby owl, often aren't fully developed yet. This is why baby owls are sometimes seen sleeping on their stomachs, or leaning against nestmates or the nest itself to rest. What I think the real interesting thing here, though, is that researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology have discovered that owls have REM sleep, which is the same type of sleep that we have when we dream. I think this finding raises a much more important question, oh army of TikTok. Just what do those adorable baby owls dream about? Could I have an owl as a pet? Why would you ask me this? Did you not watch our last video? Have I taught you nothing? Is my career an absolute waste? Have I been wasting my time? Is this pointless? Why would you want to surround yourself with that much hatred? Who hurt you? Look, we've all seen the cute YouTube videos of owls being adorable in people's homes, but while that 30 seconds might be adorable, the remaining 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds of them mauling your child, shitting half-digested rat guts all over your home, and screaming all night long are not adorable. Oh my God, you just made Nola! Don't do it. Stop asking. Not only is it illegal to have a native North American owl as a pet, it's a terrible idea. Owls do not make good pets. It's a wild animal. I don't care if you are a Disney princess. This is not the gentle woodland creature you want to summon. Look, just go get a goldfish, okay? That won't try to murder you while you sleep. All right, if you're that desperate for an evening of stupid, blind-filled hate, just turn on Tucker Carlson. Thanks for joining us for today's first ever Animal Mysteries AMA. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to help support the channel by hitting that like button and definitely subscribe to be notified about all our upcoming videos. Don't forget to tune in next time as we take a very slow look at everyone's favorite snuggly, cuddly, and totally not vampire fang demon monster, the sloth.